If we've been your job search besties and helped you in some way, there's a cool way you can support the show. Shout us a virtual coffee.
As an independent podcast, we couldn't do what we do without your support. Head to buymeacoffee.com/interviewboss.
If you keep us caffeinated, we'll keep the content coming. That's the crux of it. It's not going to make them entirely backflip and go, you weren't compatible with this role, you haven't had the right number of years experience, but hey,
Yes.
you seem really polite and, the effort was there. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Interview Boss. My name is Emma. I'm a radio journalist who's teamed up with my sister to give you advice, inspiration, and support when you're looking for a new job. Sarah is a HR and recruitment professional, and together we're excited to give you all the tips, tricks, and behind-the-scenes knowledge to help you in your career.
Hey, Em, and welcome back, everyone. We are always telling you guys to shoot your shot. So in every episode, we tell you about a listener who's done exactly that. This ep, we're shouting out Gillian.
She said, "Hello, my Aussie Queens. I'm so incredibly grateful that I found you when I did. Tell me about yourself, you say. Well, sure. After nearly 6 years in my current role, I finally realised that the paycheck wasn't worth the terrible culture. I decided it was time to seriously look for something new, and holy crap, things have changed. After 4 months, more than 100 applications, and over 20 interviews, I'm thrilled to say that I start my new position in just over a week. Listening to your podcast throughout this process has been absolutely crucial to my growth and confidence. I took the water and I never once had to clench my butt cheeks because I felt prepared. I knew exactly what I wanted to share about myself, what my best bits were, and was able to let my genuine self shine through. There were moments when I was certain an offer was coming and it didn't. There were other times when I knew they were just keeping me warm, only to receive another rejection letter, and then another and another. Your honesty about how brutal this process can be on your mindset was such a gift. The laughter, the reality checks, and the constant reminders that rejection isn't a reflection of your worth carried me through so many moments when I questioned myself, my value, and my decisions. I'm beyond excited to join my new team. I know I have so much to offer, and they were able to see that because of the confidence and tools I gained from you both. Also, I was able to negotiate my salary, and I won't be losing any pay. Also, can we please give a massive shout out to the recruiters who genuinely care, the ones who communicate, support candidates, and treat people like humans. There were several times during this process when I didn't even want the job anymore because of how poorly the recruiter handled the initial phone screen. To all the good humans doing recruiting the right way, thank you. Sending a huge thank you from Boise, Idaho, USA. Sarah and Emma, thank you for all the support, encouragement, laughs, and wisdom you share with so many people navigating one of the most vulnerable experiences of their careers. My heart is full. Cheers, Gillian."
I love so many things about that, but the first thing that I have to get out first is that I really, really appreciate that she put a couple of things with like their phonetic spelling, and one of them I think is definitely for you, Em, because she put Boise and she put in brackets Boise, how to say it. And I've been to Boise though, so I know all about.
Have you?
Yeah, Boise, Idaho. I went whitewater rafting there. I was there for a conference.
How would you describe it?
It was so cute. I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I bet Gillian had no idea that you would have been there when she was
I know.
putting the phonetic guide in there. How cool.
I know, but also because you read these, right? Like you're the one who reads them out. And I feel like you try your best with the American places, but we've definitely had that conversation about
there's been some doozies.
What was the place? Arkansas?
Indianapolis. Look, they're not doing themselves any favours. There's too many consonants in there than necessary.
Arkansas?
Crazy.
Like, Arkansas. Why is it spelled like that? Yeah, I agree. Why is it spelled like that? But I did think that that was obvious.
I digress.
Also, Side note on pronouncing things. We got a DM from someone who screenshotted they were reading a book and it said something about in the fall. And they screenshotted and said, like, I think of your podcast every time I see this. And from what I could tell looking at their profile, they're an Australian. And I really love that. It really is everywhere. So our brother-in-law, Chris, I don't know how you didn't know that fall was autumn. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Still.
But Gillian, how amazing to have learnt so much about the process, be able to know when you're being kept warm, how to know that rejection isn't a personal attack, and so nice to have these learnings.
And being kept warm is like not a bad thing. They're doing that so that they have an option to offer you the job. Like being kept warm means that they are seriously considering offering you the job. Just because that would mean, you know, someone else turned it down first, sure, that can feel really harsh, but that's a really good place to be. I also love, for anyone listening, that she included her numbers. 100 applications, 20 interviews. That's crazy. That's a lot. So if you're out there and you have done a whole bunch of interviews and you've done so many applications, I think it's really cool to hear from someone who went through a lot and then is still super happy with where they are.
Congrats, Gillian. We are so glad the show helped you and we're so proud. Now, before we get into this episode, if you need more help than we can fit in a podcast, go check out our website for free templates, coaching services, and our interview academy. This week, we are dedicating our episode to Julia, who wrote to us and said, "Hi, Sarah and Emma. I started listening to your podcast after being referred by a friend, and I've just listened to one of the episodes about following up. It's been a week since I had an interview and I'm planning to follow up tomorrow. I've seen a lot of advice online along the lines of leaders follow up with relevant info or ideas, etc., basically to provide something of value in any follow-up communications. I saw an interesting post that I was thinking of sharing with the company to demonstrate that I'm engaged and thinking about the role. Is that a strategy you would recommend? I know you said in your podcast that the follow-up should be brief and not an attempt to reiterate why you should be hired. Thank you for all of your advice and insights."
Yes. So I got this from Julia and it sounds like she's already listened to our advice, right? Which is great. But I was curious about her saying, I've seen this advice online. So I thought, okay, let me go and have a look at what's out there on TikTok in particular. Not that I think that that's like, you know, a great place to get advice on these kinds of things.
I think it's where a lot of people would get their advice.
Yes, I think it's what's on a lot of people's feeds. And to be honest, one of the reasons that I've struggled with us doing kind of short form content is that if you're a listener of this podcast, you understand that our takes are nuanced. It takes us 30 plus minutes to get through a topic of all the different bits of our advice. And so breaking it down into like, do this is just something that we are inherently anti. Like there isn't one way to do things. And anyone that says always do this, never do this, I think you should be really cautious of. And that's kind of what short form platforms are best at, really, is like little sound bites of like, this is what you should always do. So I went and had a bit of a look and I didn't dig very far. I didn't have to because there was a bunch of exactly what Julia is probably coming across. Here's some of the quotes from some of the stuff that I saw. And I didn't like deliberately dig for something controversial. These people giving this advice is like pretty normal type advice. So here's some quotes. "It shows the hiring manager what kind of candidate you are," referring to your follow-up email. Or what about, "It's a recap of why you're the best person for the job." Or someone else saying, "The 24 to 48 hours after the interview is a real opportunity." Or in that same video, "Waiting to hear back, sometimes that's a mistake."
Oh, it is not.
Oh, how would you feel if you heard that? You'd be like, oh my God, I'm making a mistake.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. I have more quotes. "I promise following up can definitely help you win the job."
No, it's not the thing that helps
Sounding
you.
very certain, isn't it? And like these videos aren't recommending a polite, "Thanks for the interview, great to meet you, I'm still really interested, blah, blah, blah." They're recommending what Julia's kind of talking about, where you attach articles, you reference the conversation, you prove why you're right for the job. And again, that's a direct quote, prove why you're right for the job. which I think is like a ludicrous sentence on its own. Like,
you already proved yourself in the interview.
And also, like, prove why you're right for the job. We're going to get to this a little bit later, but like, if I'm hiring, I don't really want to take your advice as the candidate on who I should hire. Frankly, you're a little bit biased. Like, I don't want your advice on which person I should offer the job to because you're going to say you. Like, that's not helpful to me. So the idea that you can say, this is why you should hire me is a little bit silly in general. But like I say, I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's get into our thoughts. Em, kick us off.
The follow-up email is not a secret weapon. Like, it's not this last line of defense that you can deploy to just stop them in their tracks. Like, I almost want to say it's not a tool at all. It's something that some people choose to do as a pleasantry, but it's not like a key pillar and moment of the interview process. It's so inconsequential and insignificant that, like, if you choose to do it, great, lovely. But it's not that deep. It's really not that deep.
And it's not just us that thinks this either. In the comments of some of these videos, you see other people showing up who actually have experience in the hiring process in one side or another. And they're like absolutely agreeing. Here's some quotes from the comments. Someone said, I've never failed a job interview. I've had quite a few jobs in my time. You know what I do after an interview? I just wait to hear back. If you send an email, you'll be considered an annoyance. I loved that. I just love how, like, you know what I do? I wait. I really love that.
I'm living proof.
Yeah. Someone else said, as a manager, this email would end up in the bin.
Ooh, rough.
I've deliberately kind of picked ones that were a little bit funny, but there were lots in these categories, right? Then someone else said, I would find this really pushy as an interviewer. This long-winded email of like why I'm right for the job, referencing our conversation, restating questions that I should have answered differently. And then someone else said, I think this one captures it the best without the dramatics. They said something a little bit polite to begin with, but then they said, at the very least, it's a waste of time. An email like this wouldn't change whether they were the preferred candidate or not. And
so true.
That is basically my entire stance. Like, we really need to step back and think about, we really think that like an email is going to be the thing. They're like, oh, I wasn't sure about that person. Oh, now that you tell me how good you are, now I've changed my mind.
It's so true.
Yeah.
That's the crux of it. It's not going to make them entirely backflip and go, you weren't compatible with this role. You haven't had the right number of years experience, but hey,
yes.
You seem really polite and, you know, the effort was there. So I'm going to just take a total chance on you. Like, it's confirmation bias when people who have gotten a job and sent a thank you email or pitched it happen to attribute that success to this and then pass it on to other people.
Yeah. So I want to break down what's so bad about this advice and what gets me a little frustrated on behalf of our listeners, on behalf of you out there listening to this. It's not because it's the worst thing that you could ever do by writing a follow-up email. Like, I don't think by writing a polite follow-up email or even one that like attached an article and did a little bit about like, here's why I'm right for this job or whatever, I don't think that that's going to destroy your chances. I'm not saying that this is bad advice because it's a horrible thing for you to do and it's going to work the opposite way. It's maybe annoying. It's maybe a bit pushy. Mostly, I think it's just a waste of time. But the reason why it's bad and why it frustrates me is because of how it makes people feel. Those quotes that I went through, post-interview limbo is torture, is absolute torture. We get message after message from people absolutely spiraling about, what do I do? They said this and then I haven't heard here and then I saw this and then can I follow up? Or like, what do I do? I really want this job. Like, it's really, really horrible to do that waiting process. And it's really natural to feel like I want to do something about it.
Leveling up your job interview skills is the kind of thing that will pay off for the rest of your career. When you prep properly, it's something you can use over and over and over again. Think promotions, unexpected layoffs, and when you're ready for your next move in a few years.
Enter our course, Interview Academy. It's a clear, easy to follow interview prep structure. Everyone loves the cheat sheet. Filling in each box is super satisfying and helps you focus on the important thinking, not the process. Find out whether it's right for you. interviewboss.com.au/interview-academy. The link will be below.
Yeah. It's the antidote to a horrible feeling is taking action. Whereas in this situation, there is no antidote. There's no medicine. You just have to sit with the horrible on hold feeling like your life's in limbo, not knowing whether this new life that you've envisioned in your head and all the ways your life will change with this new job. Like it's so hard, but we have to accept that there's nothing that can be done.
And imagine you're in that state and you come across one of these videos. It's really nice to feel like maybe there's a thing that you can do that's in your control. And you're telling me while I'm in that state for a job that I really, really, really want, that there's a thing that's going to increase my chances, or you're telling me that it's a mistake that I haven't done it already, or that I haven't been doing it before, or that this is what everybody else is doing. This is what senior leaders are doing. This is how they're standing out. And you're like, oh my God, are there other people interviewing against me doing this? And I'm going to look so bad by missing out on this. Like it instantly puts you into this state of, I have to do this. And it's also false hope. Let's go back to that quote that was, I promise following up can definitely help you win the job. Like, wow, I promise. Like, it's false hope.
I've just thought of an analogy, and it's not a dating analogy like Sarah loves to do. It's like playing the poker machines or slot machines in the US, gambling machines, right? And someone saying, oh, I hit the button twice and I I rub it 3 times and then I flick it and then I do a really long press, like 3 seconds, and I always get a jackpot. It's like whether you're going to get a jackpot or not, there's no way to know and there's no way to predict or anticipate or do the thing. You're just pressing the button and whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But it's like someone being like, nah, I swear by this. If you slap it twice on the left and then hold for a long press, you'll get the jackpot. Like, because they did that once.
And I think that you hear this a little bit even when hiring managers or someone who got a job because they did that. Sometimes you'll even hear it from the hiring side or a recruiter being like, I don't mind it when people do this. I like it or whatever. Yeah, because they're thinking about people who did it, who they already liked. Like, show me a time where it flipped your decision, because that is what you're telling people that it can do. And I just don't think that that is the case almost ever. I think it's like, oh, yep, I knew that I really liked this person and look at this good email that's just come in. Sure. But if they didn't send it, you already thought that. Like, it's not doing what we think it's doing. Now, the other thing that I really don't like about this, the more I thought about it and kind of reflected, is that it reinforces this idea that there's this secret game going on, that oh my God, I didn't realize that I had to do that. And like, what do I say? What do I need to say? It's like there's this magic extra step in the interview process that nobody tells you about. And like somehow the company is like expecting you to send this email and they're not telling you that they're expecting you to send the email, and like, but the hiring manager wants you to, but they don't tell you. And it makes it feel like this game
trap
is, yeah, like it's a trap and like you have to be in the know, and it makes it feel like you get in this adversarial kind of mindset of like, they're making us jump through all these hoops. And they're not. Nobody is making you do this. That it's just how people who give really generic advice, it's something that they love to grab onto. And that brings me to my last point. This advice, in my experience, never comes from people who have worked in recruitment. Let me say that again. This advice never comes from people who have worked in recruitment. I don't like to say the word never. Sometimes it might, right? But one of the people who was making these videos, I looked up. I didn't look up all of them. I don't have endless amounts of time, but looked up one of them. And to be honest, she wasn't like a really, really bad example. Like most of her content was on leadership stuff, which she's pretty good at. Like it looked like really good advice, but she'd also kind of strayed over into like how to get a leadership job. And she'd done a little bit of content on, the job search process. I looked her up on LinkedIn. She's had a communications and PR career, not a single day in recruitment, HR, anything even close. Now, maybe she was a hiring manager, right? Like, sure, I can probably give her that. I just think that is very different than actually working in recruitment and seeing time and time again how stuff is received by different managers. As a hiring manager, you only see the process that you're involved in and your candidates for your types of jobs and your industry. when you're working in recruitment, you've had any exposure to that, you see different hiring managers, what different people like, what different candidates do, different scenarios that come up where you already liked them and then they email, or when someone's really pushy and they won't stop following up. Like, you see stuff happen and you're able to work out patterns, and you're able to then work out, okay, what's the advice that I want to give to someone? What should they do or what should they not do? And it frustrates me because I want you to think about, if you're in Julia's situation and you really want to follow up and you're seeing this stuff, just maybe like, okay, who's this person that I'm learning this from? Like, are they making sweeping statements? Do they actually know what they're talking about? Like, are they saying, okay, in these circumstances, it might help? Like, I'd be inclined to automatically trust that a little bit more, because it sounds like they, aren't making generalized statements.
Which, this advice goes for everything in life. In clipping culture online right now, where things are clipped to perform well on socials, but they completely chop off all nuance of a longer, deeper conversation, just be skeptical. It's good for everyone. But as an exercise, let's put ourselves in the shoes of a hiring manager or recruiter for a second. So imagine you've met the candidates, you've discussed the interview afterwards with the panel, you've had a debrief, you've formed your impressions, you're kind of mulling over the final decision. Someone then emails you with the, I'm the person you should hire for XYZ, here's some research I've attached, like, don't make the wrong decision type vibes. And look, they make some great points. So then you go, wow, I should listen to them, and you totally change your mind. I don't think that would ever happen.
I really want us to think about, what are we saying if we're saying that this email has the opportunity to influence the process? Are we kind of saying that, like, well, don't worry about the interview, don't worry about the hour-long conversation of in-depth of what I've done before and my actual experience and me explaining it. It's all in me pitching myself, or it's all in the fact that I linked them an article? Like, it just seems really strange to me. Like, if we really think about that part, that like, oh, yeah, that's completely changed my opinion, I'm going to hire you now instead.
Or you're kind of saying that the hiring managers can be like manipulated quite easily by just like what integrity would they have if they abandoned the whole collective group thought, their own gut instinct, and just went, oh, that sent me. Like, if so, those people are at risk of falling victim to scams, MLMs, pyramid schemes. Like, they should not be trusted.
Like, I think, again, back to the reason that I think that it's not great advice is because in order to believe that this email is really making a big difference, it kind of reinforces this idea that, like, the interview wasn't important, or like the interview wasn't enough or whatever. And it kind of takes the importance of, like, that's the part. Your experience, your background, your salary expectations, your proximity to work, like all these other things, like, you're about you and why you want the role and your kind of, motivations for it and all that part. We're going, oh, no, none of that matters. It's the follow-up email. It's whether or not I sent one and the content of that email that I absolutely could have AI'd, by the way. Like, really? Are we really thinking that a freaking AI email? And let's face it, anyone who's seeing this advice and thinking, oh my God, I have to write an email, what am I going to say? They want to really impress. They're going to use AI, and it's going to come across as a long-winded, super AI-generated email that the hiring manager is absolutely going to put in the bin.
Yeah. Just remember, as we said, you will hear this from people who did send a follow-up email and got the job. It does not mean that it changed the outcome. Correlation does not equal causation.
Yes. Now, what I want to do a quick caveat for is that we're not talking about not following up at all, right? We have a podcast about following up. We talk about a very brief follow-up email. Thanks so much for meeting me. Really enjoyed our time together. Looking forward to hearing back from you, right? It's not a pitch. It's not an opportunity. It's not a secret weapon. It's none of those things. It's a completely optional step that you can do if you really feel like you want to. You can go and listen to that episode if you're interested in our advice on it. We're talking about this like extra thing that you're doing, all this extra effort to send into this follow-up email. Now, the one time that I think it could have an impact, because I like to be real here, and like I say, I just tend not to trust people who make large sweeping statements. So where I can see this actually changing someone's outcome is where they liked you already. They really liked you. They were sold on your skills, 100%. But their main concern, like their only concern, was that you weren't that keen on the job. In that specific circumstance, your keenness would be what was changing their mind. The fact that you'd put in effort into an email. It's not the content of it. It's the fact that you're following up saying, I want to reiterate, I'm really excited. Here's what I'm excited about that we talked about. That would be the part that in that very, very, very specific case that would be making the difference. It wouldn't be all the pitch about all your skills because, again, in this case, you've already won them over with that. Like, they're not assessing your skills from your email. They may be interested in your keenness if that was their primary concern. So if you do feel like you came across like too nonchalant about the job, by all means, like, reiterate your keenness in your follow-up email.
Yes. So back to Julia. She's wanting to follow up because it's been a week since the interview. She's feeling the pressure to turn that into some kind of value add. But our advice is you don't need to. Just follow up in a regular way to ask where the process is at. Go and listen to episode 54 of our podcast called How to Follow Up After a Job Interview, and then put your energy into anything else. And we have an episode for this. Listen to this when you're waiting to hear back for that absolute torture period where you're going crazy, and just keep yourself busy.
Yeah, focus on something else instead. I also do think my last little tip for Julia is that she's kind of getting her wires crossed a little bit, because the reason that she wants to follow up is because she hasn't heard, right? She hasn't just done the interview and thinking, I've been seeing all this advice. How do I send an email after the interview? She's only feeling these things because it's been a week, right?
Because she read it while she's waiting.
Yeah. Yes, because it's coming from this anxiety of wanting to do something, from this torture of waiting to hear back. So even in the realm where you were like, Sarah and Emma, love you, appreciate you helping me understand it, but I've still decided I'm going to do it anyway. Cool, you do you. It's your process. That's totally fine. I'm glad you're now more informed. Let's say you're going to do that. I still wouldn't recommend that you do it a week later. It's kind of a weird time frame to be like, here's why I'm great for the job. If you're going to do that thing, if you're really insistent on doing it, that needs to be like immediately after the interview, like in that day, that next day or whatever. Doing that a week later is kind of weird, because your intention with that week later email is just to find out what the hell is going on. Like, it seems strange to kind of be like disguising it as like this value add thing.
Yeah, those two emails have different purposes.
Yes. Your whole purpose of this email is like, hey, just wanted to check in. I'm still really keen. Wanted to see where the process is at. Great. Done. That's it. It's functional. This is a process. We're not like, it's not a test at every communication. There's not a secret thing you have to do. It's not a secret weapon.
No, it's not a trick.
No.
Not a trick. Don't fall for the sweeping statements on social media. You are not missing an opportunity by not following up.
Yeah, exactly. It is completely 100% optional to send a thank you note. It is completely not recommended to do anything more than that. And if you're waiting to hear back, we've got some episodes to help you out. Stick with us. It's going to be okay.
Hang in there.
Thanks for listening to Interview Boss. If you want to request an episode on your specific conundrum or industry, like Julia, send us the details. Email us or slide into our Instagram DMs. But if you DM us on Instagram and you're not following us, Emma won't be happy and she will judge.
I really will.
We believe in paying it forward, so if we've helped you, spread the word. You know the drill. Follow, review, find us on Instagram, LinkedIn. It really, really helps us. Or go the old school way and tell someone else about the show. Can you believe we started Interview Boss in 2021?
Not really. It's insane. That's a lot of episodes and a lot of hours of talking.
Oh my gosh, it is. And if you're scrolling through all of our episodes, you might scroll straight past something that you really, really needed.
Yes, we're always getting messages from people asking us to do an episode on something, and I'm like, we already have.
So we've put together playlists to help you find the episodes that are exactly what you need, suited to your situation.
They're all categorized. If you're applying for jobs, we have episodes about resumes, cover letters, job ads. If you've been offered your dream job, we have episodes on resigning, exit interviews, and how to impress at your new company.
And we even have a very special playlist that's very popular for if you have an interview coming up immediately and you need just our most recommended hard-hitting episodes between now and then.
For all our last-minute listeners. It's all there for you. You can browse by category and check out all the playlists at interviewboss.com.au/podcast.